Hello, everyone. Welcome to the sports session. Uh, got my eyes on chat. If anybody can hear me, if you can just type somewhere, that'd be fantastic. If you can just type somewhere, that'd be fantastic. Okay, I checked on another little device there, and I think we are good to go. So again, if you guys are new here, oh, chat is disabled. I knew I would have forgotten something. So again, if you guys are, let me do this. Sorry guys, still just working out the bugs as we move over to this type of platform. That should, in theory, if I did that right, that should help us out here. Might take a second. While we do that, let me just look to see. And while we do that, let me just kind of resize this so it makes sense. And move that up into there, and then shift this over to here. And I think, yeah, I see the chat up there now, so that should be good. So you may need to refresh your stream if that didn't work, but there should be a chat box kind of just to the right of what it is that you're looking at. So basically what we do here, there's real nothing we're kind of specifically, I guess, trying to do other than to support our clients and our product. So we're going to sit here and we're going to kind of talk a bit about the markets and what's going on there, which is obviously it's a good timely time to have just chatting with the markets with everything going on. And if anyone has questions on trading, Trade Ideas software, the use of it, what it does, if you're a current client, you want to know more, we do have that pretty detailed series on YouTube, which I can link you guys to, or you can come in and email info@trade-ideas.com. And you can take a look at that. That kind of goes through the beginnings and the ins and the out on how to use the software and what buttons to hit and all of that. So that's all archived now on YouTube, so you can go watch it whenever it is that you want. And then what we do here is we're going to talk a bit about the market, just kind of shoot the crap and does all of that kind of stuff, and just answer questions as they come. So we got one in there. Did these sessions replace all the 101, 201, 301, 401? Yes. So what we've done is there's a playlist now on YouTube. If you just go to, let me see if I can find it, and I can send you over there. But if you just go over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/trade ideas, you'll see that we have all of those recorded, those backed up for you, so you can go watch them anytime you want. And then as you kind of come across issues that you need and problems that you had, questions or whatever, you can just come back here and chat. And then I see another question of who am I? So yeah, I guess I'm not as front facing as most of the guys. I'll just type into chat here. I have been consulting with Trade Ideas for about 2 years now. So I'm Bonpar on Twitter and YouTube, Bonpar as well. So what I do with Trade Ideas a lot is help kind of make the artificial intelligence better. So as the artificial intelligence is learning, I'm learning at the same time and trying to teach it more and more. So we're kind of ever getting better, hopefully, on building that out. So I've been using Trade Ideas for 13 years now, give or take, and have been auto trading with it as soon as the Auto Trader came out, and was really involved in back testing and optimizing and playing with different strategies there. So they brought me on to kind of do that for them here, and I've been here ever since. So the voices you're used to hearing are probably Jamie and Andy and Steve and Sean. And we've got Steve's away because he's He's getting his knee all fixed up, and we got Sean on a little bit of time off, and so it's everyone's kind of spread out this week. So I'm filling in when I can. Also, I was the one that convinced them to um, go to YouTube, so I figured I should be the one to help out with the initial kind of setup here. The famous Michael Noss. Ooh, I like that. Famous. Hello, Mike C. So, crazy market, I guess, is one way just to open this up. What everyone was watching was the 200-day moving average. Let's go over quickly to my other. I use the web version for kind of just scanning and playing around, and then I've got my desktop version here, where I do all my trading and everything. And yeah, we had the 200-day moving average just kind of right over in this area. Everyone was looking at that and thinking that that was going to be a possible area of support. And we opened up and just kind of sold right through that all day yesterday. Another ugly, ugly day today. And then we've gapped down today. We sold off a little bit at the open, and then we're actually holding up pretty well. All things considered, right? We're still down 2% because of the gap, but really it could be certainly much worse. Uh-oh, I think Wolfhound has heard of me. Michael, are you snowed in up there? It's not too bad, actually. It's above freezing. So, that's for us Canadians. We're outside in our t-shirts and getting good suntans going on, and certainly cannot complain. So, again, as questions come up, just fire them off into the room there. But yeah, so essentially what we're doing is we're just trying to support everything as it comes out, and I'm just going to kind of review what Holly went through today. If you don't know what Holly is, it's our AI. We generally don't show off these trades as they happen live, but it's middle of the day, it's about lunchtime, and most of them are pretty old now, and I doubt there'll be too much more as we're talking. So I'll kind of go through what was happening there. And there was some good ones. A lot of long plays. I'm surprised. I was worried that she was going to get suckered in pretty short. But as we kind of sort by the most profitable trades today have all been on the long side, which is great. The benefit of day trading, this TRIL. This must be a virus play with the monster move like that in this market. Nice 10% move on that one. Showing up for the polar bear swim. I will not be showing up for a polar bear swim. That's insanity, those people. FTCH is a pretty good in the breakout long side of things. A lot of volume on this one, so I've actually got my eyes on this. I've added this to a watch list. I'm going to look for a swing trade. A guy I used to trade with back in the day, and I think it's a kind of common term, would call this a pro gap. If you have a series of down days and then you have a push over that and a move higher, just kind of showing that everything, all of these people, if we kind of close up in this area, they're all kind of stuck, right? So should be interesting to see. So what I'm looking for this one to do is if we kind of hold here for the day and then just chop sideways for a little bit and then make another push higher. We don't have short float date on it, unfortunately, but just the fact that we've had these 4 days down in a row and then a massive pop up is certainly interesting to me. And again, if you guys know me at all, I guess if you don't, I am a swing trader and an algo trader, right? So everything I do trading wise is entered pretty much automatically. I've had nothing in the way of, this is like my day trading screen. Oh, it's only supposed to be filtered to these two. And I've had nothing in the way of day trades today. I've only got my swing trades kicking about. Oh no, sorry, I took this little scalp with Holly here. It doesn't look like it's working out too well. I have many layouts, and sorry, I got to keep reading the question in case someone doesn't have chat open. But is this my teaching layout as opposed to my trading layout? I've got many different layouts going on. So I've got let's take a walk around. I'm actually a big user of the web version because I'm not a big indicator guy. And they're actually doing some really good work with the web version here. So many things on my screen. So what I do a lot of is I have different layouts for, this is kind of what I'll look at when I'm day trading actively. And a lot of how I do that is with Holly as well, where I'll scan through what's happening here on Holly. I scan by the risk on percentage, and I'm actually looking at the things that haven't gone yet. So for example, I'm looking at MYI here and FTCH. That one's actually moved quite a bit from the first call. Oh, that's from the second call. It hasn't moved much. And I'll set alerts on here, and then if they trigger, then I'll switch over to another platform and then another platform. I've got maybe 4 or 5 different versions of Trade Ideas running on different servers. I do some testing as well on some new artificial intelligence stuff that we're doing. We're looking at better ways to manage stops. We're always looking at better algorithms. We're always looking at different time frames, that type of thing. So I've got a couple going there. So thank God I have them on cloud computers, or mine would probably melt. I got a question. When auto trading, what do you recommend as an entry offset number? So on an entry offset number, that is all going to depend on your scans. But let's just show everyone what it is you're asking about. And that's if you go into strategies, or you can do it for the AI. You can right click and edit. And then under order details, you can actually decide how you want the system to get you into or out of a trade, right? So this particular one, it's going to calculate based off my stop loss and risk $500, and it's going to be good for this many seconds. And then this is what the question's about, is this entry offset. And basically what that is, the more negative this number is, the more aggressive your entry order is, and the more positive it is, the more passive. So if you're willing to pay up, then you can, you get a high negative number. And if you're looking to actually have the stock kind of come back to your price, you have a big positive number. And that's kind of agnostic of long and short. It's the same. Negatives aggressive for both long and short, and positives passive for both long and short. So what you're going to use is going to have a lot to do with what your particular trading style is, and what stocks that you like to trade. So if you're trading stocks that have, big volume, they're Apples and Microsofts and big volume and tight spreads, then you could probably get away with, 2 to 3 cents. And are you trading revision to the mean versus a breakout strategy? Because a revision to the mean strategy, you might actually want to put a positive number. And the reason that you do that is it's going to be very rare that if you're trading a strategy that's going to buy as the stock is selling, that you're going to nail the absolute low tick. So what you might do is you might say, okay, well, I'm okay trying to get an extra, 5 or 10 cents by lowering that. But if you're trading a breakout strategy, then if you put a kind of low bid in automatically, you're going to miss quite often a lot of trades. So if it's, it's all about what type of play that you're looking for, what the price action is looking for at the time, and what is the liquidity of the stock. And that liquidity of the stock is going to be a big thing. If you're trading liquid stocks, you're going to have to kind of pay up for that spread. And if you're paying more liquid stocks, you're going to have to, you won't have to, right? The downside being is that more liquid stocks move less, and less liquid stocks move more, which again is also a double-edged sword, because if they move for you real quick, they'll also move against you real quick. So here's another version of TI. It's not doing fantastic, that one, but so I hope that makes sense. I know you'd like a definitive number, but it's one of those that you need to try and then test, right? So these are scans that I'm actually working on that may in the future, I gotta cut out some things on it, but may in the future become new Holly algos. And what I will do is before I start trading them or before I send them over to Holly is I'll load them into our simulator, which is one reason that I'm super happy that we got one, and test those. So then what I do is to see whether or not in simulator how aggressive you would have had to be to enter those orders. I would go through and I would say, okay, let me compare. This is what I should have got filled in today, which is in this alert window, and then I'd go into the simulator that one was running on and say how many did I get filled at like a 4 or 5 4 or 5 offset. And then if I get filled on all of them, then I say, okay, well, you're only taking 4 or 5 cent slippage in or out, and I'll program that into the system. And if it's still a good strategy with that intact, then I'll say, okay, that's good. If I didn't get filled on any of them, then I'd say, okay, well, I built this strategy and it looked good on paper and it didn't fill well. And that's something that a lot of people, when they're back testing and they're building strategies, they don't consider or they don't want to consider. They build a strategy and they say, oh, okay, this thing made money, let me just start trading live. It's like, well, you got to do more work than that, right? You got to test it in a simulator, and only then, if it's doing well, you have to test it in a live account. You wouldn't just jump from, oh, I made a back test to let me trade live. So that's the way I tweak it. Again, it's a long-winded answer, but we've got an hour. That's how I do it, is just go and then adjust. So the next question is, how many seconds do you want to keep the order out there? Again, that's going to be entirely different based off of the trading style, right? If you're looking for, let's find something that I can draw on the chart and it will make sense. What's Clack doing? Yeah, so if I'm looking for something just, right, I want to buy above like a 2-day high on a beaten up stock or something like that. And that's a strategy that I built. Well, I know that if I'm just trying to buy and grab like a hour pop, then I'm going to want to pull back that order quickly if it doesn't get filled. Again, if I'm looking for revision to the mean type of play, and I'm looking to kind of have a passive order below the market because I've tested it, and I found that they drop pretty significantly after after it's alerted, and then you get a drop maybe 2 or 3 minutes later, and you've noticed that by doing all your forward testing, and you'd want to leave it out for 5-10 minutes. Again, if you're doing a kind of volatile breakout strategy where you want to either get them or get out, you would do that quickly, right? You would have something that maybe is a minute. I've seen people that will flash orders out for like 30 seconds. It's like they want to get that fill and then they want to cancel it, because if it doesn't, they're playing a breakout. So if the order goes out and then 30 seconds later it hasn't got it, they don't even want it to come back then, because they kind of look at that as a failed breakout. So again, you got to look, what's your strategy like? What's your is it revision to the mean, or is it a breakout? Is it high liquidity? Is it low liquidity? And then test, right? So go through and say, okay, this is what I would have made today in the back test. And then in your simulator, you said, okay, this is what actually was made in the simulator. And then find out, did you miss those stocks that would have really made a difference in your trading? And if you're like, yeah, I missed those stocks, they would have made a big difference in my trading, and if I left my order out longer, I would have gotten them, then great. But right, that's part of your job of run the back test, make sure it looks pretty in back test, and then start walk forward testing, where you say, okay, I'm going to trade this with a simulator account. I'm going to start tweaking my order entry, which again, everyone wants to go and they just want to back test a strategy and have a nice, great looking equity line that goes like this and then get to work. But that order entry nuance is actually very, very important. If you're missing all of the good trades and getting all the bad one, you may need to readjust, or your strategy may not be trading liquid enough instruments, right? So test and test and test and test and test is the answer for that, unfortunately. All right. So again, any questions? This is your guys's time to ask away. And right after I log off, the trading room will kind of boot back up. So we're starting to kind of expand this out where you're going to be able to come to Trade Ideas from 9 in the morning and stay until our webinars are done at night, like an hour or two after the close. And you're going to get a little bit of content all throughout the day to ask question or learn about trading or ask different questions. And it's one of the super big advantages that we actually have at Trade Ideas, where almost everybody here, like if you ask a question in support and your question has to do with trading, you're getting not just someone who supports the product, but you're getting a trader that uses the product respond to you. And all throughout this week, you've heard from Sean and Jamie, not Steve this week, but last week, and we all have different trading styles, and we all kind of disagree with trading. So come by and come by and check it out, and come by when Barry's live. He's way more of like a scalper than I am. I'm more of a swing trader, swing scalper. I think Steve has kind of coined the phrase of, I'm not looking for monthly moves, but if they happen, great. I'm looking for something to happen kind of over the next few days and hopefully take some profits there. And then again, I do some day trading. I've got some algos that I run. I've turned them off because most of them are gap fills and gap plays and all of this, and they just aren't in this particular market. I'll turn them off and then I'll turn them back on come when everything chills, right? And again, this is a very discretionary type strategy. You can see the risk reward's great, but the profit is pretty bad. So we got a question, Michael. Since I'm doing a mix of algo and manual trading, is there a way to find out how the auto orders went in? I'm looking at the messages, but I cannot tell. Well, you can go through and you can go through your orders, and you can go to your filled orders, which I only have this one today because I shorted this AL, but nothing's happening. And you can find kind of all of the details there, the filled price, the limit price. If you're doing this through Interactive Brokers, I will actually say, as much as I'm not a fan of a lot of what Interactive Brokers does, their reporting on their website is actually great. When it came tax time, I could just, here you go, and send it off to the accountant, and it had everything he needed, and it has some pretty good, tracking your performance data and all of that as well. Again, I find it kind of annoying, I guess, their platform. I don't like it's a lot, I guess. It's cluttered. I'm just not a fan. But their website is actually pretty good. So that'd be the best way to do it. The other way we do it to be going to your orders tabs. I think there's a executions tab, and you can go through all that, and there's that information there where it'll give you order IDs and all that kind of stuff, commission rates. Let's see how this looks on the sim. Let me disconnect that. Let me go on, pop on the sim here. Oh, look at me. I'm a sim millionaire. My sim trading today is better than my actual trading. Now we're on to the sim so we can play about. And we will, I didn't execute anything. Let's execute something. Let us trade this, and we're going to short stop at today's high. So it's going to short the stock and it's going to put the stop right up there around today's high. So now if we go into the execution tab, okay, so it's got an estimated commission, it's got an entry price, exit price, fill time, order reference, and what account it went through. So you should be able to see this account for, this is the sim, and then the other account. I'm always careful to hide my account numbers, but that's pretty neat. And let's go to positions here. So we got another question to talk about advanced exits within Brokerage Plus. Unfortunately, we don't have those enabled in Brokerage Plus. But let me talk a bit about, I don't even know how well this looks right now. This is a scan that I ran before the market kind of imploded. And so the long and short answer is we're working on them. And essentially what an advanced exit is, and I'll explain kind of what the problem is with building them and why it's taking a little bit. Yeah, that one just kind of fell apart there. So this, for example, the theory behind this scan is it's essentially just looking for stocks that have, is there anything else today that will look better? I got to refine it a bit. But yeah, it's looking for stocks like this that kind of gap down under today's low and are starting to push back up. So they're making like piercing candles on the daily. And it's an interesting little scan. It's one that I use. You can see here by the back test, it works okay. And then when the market sucks, it doesn't. So this is another kind of very discretionary type scan. But yeah, you can see it's got these little stocks that come and they just penetrate yesterday's low a little bit and then they bounce back up. And that's why it's just called bouncers. So in your normal scan, you can just back test and you can say, for example, I want this one. Okay, it's going to close at the end of the day. It's got no stop loss. And let's turn this off. And let's say we're going to put the stop at above the low of the day and just simulate this. So what it's simulating right now is what would happen if you bought the stocks that came through this scan or had Brokerage Plus do it, put your stop out and just held it till the end of the day. What would be the actual back test? What would be the result with that, right? Obviously not that great, especially in this market, But what the advanced exits that are being asked about is you can run the same thing and you can say, okay, well, instead of just putting my stop at the end of the day and hoping it ends the day higher, what if I wanted to do something like trail that stop? Right? So right here, it's got a new 15-minute low. Let's say, for example, we wanted just to do a 30-minute low. And what it's going to do now is it's only going to exit if the stock makes a new 30-minute low. And what it will do is it will monitor that trade as it goes on and say, okay, so we took the stop out here. So whenever it makes a new 30-minute low, whatever that is, this will be the scan that you get. So it's kind of like a trailing stop that you can do kind of bar by bar, candle by candle. And you can see that even though it still is abysmal, I think it is beating the other one just because it has more of, a more sensible risk management type system. Yeah, and it did beat the other one. Still bad, but it still did beat the other one a bit. So we are working on putting this within Brokerage Plus. But the problem is right now what happens if you buy a stock and you put out like a stop loss order or a time stop or anything, that gets sent immediately over Interactive Brokers, and Interactive Brokers monitors that. Right? That's just what they do. So we don't control any of the orders anymore. They're over there. If you lose internet connection or you lose the connection between, Brokerage Plus and Trader Workstation, everything's fine because they have the order over there. So what we need to do is we need to come up with some sort of a hybrid where, because we need to be watching for the next 30-minute low. Interactive Brokers doesn't have any orders like that. So we would have to be able to watch your stock and then say, okay, it made a new 30-minute low and then canceled. So we have to do a bunch of server side work so that we can keep an eye on all your stops and your orders and all this stuff. So again, just for the nerds like myself out there about why we can't do this right now, that's just because we have to build it out. It's one of those things, it's on the list, but there's very many things on that list. So we just got to make sure that we're doing things in an order that kind of makes the most sense. But I'm excited for that because I personally do a lot of swing trading where, and if anyone's watched my videos, I do live swing trading videos where I walk you through, here's why I entered and why, here's why I took profits here and why, here's where I took profits here and why. And what we do, what I do is I sell in parts and then I trail the rest behind like a short-term moving average. Is just a way to keep me in the trade because I am one of those guys who, if I see money, I just want to take it. So I'll build these little rules in place and it'll be great once I can automate those rules. So we got another question. I'm totally new to this. I'm still trying to understand how to put out orders, stop or limit orders. Can you help me with this? Yeah, for sure. So, the easiest way, the way to kind of get started, if you're just new on this and you're on the sim and you just want to put in orders and you don't want to do anything fancy. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a video playlist in the chat that I would definitely check out. A handsome man called me actually did these. Let me grab them. Did this. It's like a playlist. It's got 6 kind of short videos in it. So you can kind of reference this whenever you like. But let me show you here live at the same time. So the big focus of just entering orders on your own is going to be just right in this box, right? We're on the sim, which is great. I keep saying that because I'm reminding myself that this isn't real. So I'm not too worried about it. So if you want to do a market order, you just fill in your share size. So you fill in your stocks. Let's trade some, what just popped up then? INSP. So you can put in your symbol, right? You can just put in your share size. Also, you'll notice if you click on the symbol anywhere kind of within trade ideas, it will populate that symbol in here as well. Pick your share size. Let's go big on the sim. Let's do 1,000 shares of this thing. And then whatever price you want. So if it's a market order, it's fine just the way it is. You just hit buy and you'll buy, and you hit sell and you'll sell, and that's it. Market orders are scary, so be careful if you're doing market orders. But if you want to do a limit, you can click inside the box right here that says price, right in there. And you just give that a click, and it comes up with all of the numbers that are kind of in the vicinity, right? We're trading at 83.72, and it's got 83.76, to 83.89. So you can just pick a number from that if that's what you want the limit to be. Let's put our limit, a little bit over the money there. That's fine. So if I hit buy, it should execute this. Again, this is on the sim, so it's instant. So there we are. So we bought at 83.65 on a limit order. Now let's put out a stop order. So to put out a stop order, you leave the price right here where it says as market, because you want your stop to trigger at a certain price and then dump out a market order. And then your stop price, or stop PRC as it says here, depending on how big or small your brokerage plus window is, you could just put in low of the day. Let's just say 82.35. Oh no, see, this is why you should always do this before you pick your share size, because now we're risking 1,000 fake monies. So 82.60, and then we'll just hit sell, and you can see it put the stop loss order out there at 82.60. If I wanted this to be a stop limit, what I would do is, instead of just having market in this price here, I would just type whatever that limit order was going to be. And then that's like the basics. And then, you can get so much cooler than that, where you set up these little entry scripts right here. And I say, stop at today's low. Let's do that. And I can edit this. Name it whatever you want. I named it stop at today's low because I don't know, I'm not that sharp and I just want it to be super obvious. You can pick certain rules, like it will reject an order if it's you have a holding for that already, maybe you didn't know, or whatever you want to set up here. But the cool part of it is you can set good for seconds. We just had that chat, but I can say I want to only send out an order for 2 minutes, and I want to send it outside 10 cents outside the money to see if I can get filled. Then under position sizing, you can pick, again, share size, dollar size, whatever you want. But my favorite is actually based off stop loss. And this particular strategy, let's make it, it's $100. And then for risk management, you can add, I want to risk, put my stop 5% away or $1 away or a nickel away, whatever it is you want. Or you can use filters. And my favorite for strategies like this one would be above low. And basically what I'm saying here is I want, it's the stock is $1 and a bit above the low. This INSP is about $1 and a bit above the low. So what it will do is it will say, here's the price that you want to get in, and here's where the low of the day is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crunch those numbers for you so that if you get triggered here and then you get stopped out, you'll risk $100. Give or take slippage, give or take gaps, all these things that we know about the market. And then how long do I want to hold it for? I have this to get out at the end of the day, but you can say none. You could say I want to only hold it for an hour, or I want to hold it for 3 days, or whatever, and then your broker will get out. And once you have that set up, you can, anywhere that you see the symbol, so you can click on the chart, or you can click on in this box in your alert window or in your top list or from the AI, wherever you want to click. If you click and trade, you see that stop at today's low is right there. So if I click on that, it's going to buy, hold on. Let's gotta do it on a different symbol. Let's do it on Apple. Let's buy some Apple. And that's just because I have it set that if I already have holdings to not do that. So let's do stop at today's low right there, and boom, there we go. Right, so you can see it just bought the stock. It put the stop at today's low. It bought me 6 shares, which must mean it's a very great distance away. And that's kind of the end of her. That's you're done at that point. So that's the way I like to trade. One thing you can do to kind of go one step further is we have these buy and sell buttons right here at the top of the chart. So if I set this up and I say, okay, well, I want to buy Google. GOG or GOGL. Let's do something cheaper. Let's do Walmart. All right, I want to buy some Walmart. So I can click the buy button, and then I can click the price I'd like to get filled. And you can see it put the stop at today's low again, right? So it's just a way to constantly put out the order, put out the stop. And I promise for a lot of you guys, if you're a new struggling trader in particular, probably struggling because of risk management issues. I've been trading for 12, 13 years. I've had the pleasure of flying all over the world with trade ideas and other places I consult with and do that kind of thing. And I meet with great traders, really smart minds, the legitimate guys, not the shysters out there. And yeah, they're like, yeah, I'm right 55, 60% of the time. Right? So if the best in the world, like the guys who are not, they're not hiding anything, they're not doing anything, they manage money, they have to report, they have to do all this. If they're right 55 to 60% of the time, then your question is, okay, well, what's really separated you from the rest of the people who try and fail? And the only other part of trading is risk management. It's how much are you right? How often are you right? And then how quickly do you know you're wrong versus how long do you hold a trade if you're right? And when you talk to most of them, they say that 80-20 principle that's just kind of valid in all things applies to them too, where it's like 80% of their income for the year will come from a handful of trades, and 80% of their income each month may come from one or two trades because they got something and the thing really, really rocketed. And then if they look at the rest, there's, some small losers, or probably a whole bunch of small losers, and then a handful of small winners, and then just one or two kind of blowouts that really made it. So I would suggest that if you are interested in trading and you don't have this product and you're not interested in, or you haven't picked it up yet, is to get it and start playing with the sim, right? Especially if you're struggling. If you're struggling, just do yourself a favor, go in the sim. The first thing to stop doing if you're in a hole is stop digging. So, last question: any sneak peeks or coming soons you can show us? There's always stuff coming soon. I just don't know what I can and cannot show you. So this is like a testing ground that you guys are looking at now. And that testing ground it's got a bunch of cool stuff. The one main thing that I think I can show you, because this one's going to be out soon, is the similar tab. And we're still working on the similar tab, but here within the single stock window, if you want to click, you can find out news, right? You can find out all of the details you want. Like I have float up here, short interest, the change, how close it is to VWAP, things like this. News, just news. If I click on this, it'll open a web browser and it will just show me what the news is here. Profile, if you don't know what Walmart does, you can take a look. Insiders, this is insider buying and selling. You can see that there's a whole bunch of insider sales going on recently, and not nearly as much in the way of insider buying. Insider is just someone who owns enough of the company that the government makes them report every time they do a transaction on the stock. And similar is kind of the new thing that you guys most likely don't have, but will soon. And what it does is one of two things. So you can, let me pop this out and just freeze it for a second. So single stock price action. So you can either do this by, if you go to view mode, by price action or competitors. So what it's sorted now is by price action, and it's trying to find things through math, the best we can, that are similar than, here we go, are similar to what Walmart looked like. And this is going to be a bit of a game that we're going to play with for a bit. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to find like what's the last couple days price action and marry that up. We're going to put in, you can see there's a lot of low volume stuff. We're going to add some volume filters. We're going to add some kind of ATR filters to clean it up. But this is what we're thinking. The other thing that I think is cool as well is go to view mode and click competitors, and let us go back to did I do that right? View mode, competitors, okay. And let's pop out. Again, this is still a work in progress, just so you guys know. But what it's going to do is it's going to try to find things that are in the same sector group. So there's a natural grocery store. There's a Village supermarket. There's a Kroger. So what it's doing is it's saying, okay, here's Walmart. And you're looking at Walmart, and here is all of the other things that kind of are in that same industry as Walmart. And one use case that I can see for this right away, which would be interesting, is if say Walmart came out with some news, right? Walmart, I don't know, it's something bad happened, right? They've a store exploded or something crazy happened, and you saw Walmart starting to move, or better yet, government regulation had come in against Walmart, and they were going to split it up so they couldn't have a grocery store and a Walmart going at the same time. Then what you could do is you could say, okay, what else is in Walmart? Let me go through that sector and see if there's something that hasn't reacted to that news yet, because the first place that you see a news jump is always in the most obvious place. It's always in the stock that has the problem. after that, it kind of echoes out into relating type securities. So, okay, maybe Walmart is hurt by this, but maybe Whole Foods is, um, maybe Whole Foods is going to benefit. So maybe it takes an extra couple minutes or 30 minutes or whatever for Whole Foods or Kroger to actually react to this news. It kind of gives you that what is the second derivative play of what it is that I'm looking for. And so that's cool. That's something we're coming by. We're actually playing a lot. I'm excited more for this similar thing. I know getting for price action. I know getting price action to match is going to be a lot harder because, how do you define price action? Is it based off the last few days or the last few hours or a week from now? And are you looking for things that are up or down the same amount or that have the same trend or have the same MACD, RSI? It's one of those questions that if I say find me stuff of similar price action, you think is really easy until you actually sit back and start to think about, okay, how do we define all of these characteristics so a computer can read from it? So we have about 15 minutes left. If there are any more questions, feel free to come and pop them by. And then pretty much momentarily after I am done, Barry's going to come back, so I'm just going to shut down the room, and then you may need to refresh. I don't know, but it should come back within, say 5 minutes or 10 minutes of me being off. Barry will be back on and ready to go, and this is, for the foreseeable future, is going to be the schedule going forward, where you're going to have Barry open the market, do his trading thing. You can watch here. If you want to chat, for now, you'll have to go into the room, which there's a link under the video for. Go check out the room, hang out with the people there. Eventually, there may be a chat room here, but we're going to see how that goes. It becomes a moderation issue when you have an open platform. Sorry, my dog's protecting me from probably a squirrel or something. So, yeah, and then after that, after you're done with watching Barry, then you can come by for support, or if you're already good to go and you don't need support, if you just want to come talk to us about the market, maybe there's one of these presenters that have something that kind of resonates a little bit more with you. I know I'm like an algo guy and a back tester and statistics and all that, and that doesn't resonate with everyone as much as charts, and some people are swing traders, some people are day traders. So we're going to just keep rotating educators for this hour. And then after this hour is done, away we go back to Barry until he's done for the day. And coming soon, we're going to have our nighttime webinars here as well. So there'll be kind of content from the open to like 2 hours after the close for you guys, which I think is great. Got one question. Got here late. If you already talked about it, just ignore. When you manage Neo's entry, how much discretionary do you add? Let's say Neo enters right into daily resistance. Do you just exit? I know it's been a crazy week. I'm formalizing my plan. It's how much discretionary do I use when I auto trade Neo? And let's just go and just look at just Neo. I use a lot. I basically have Neo enter, say 2/3 to a half of what I want my actual position size to be. And then what I do is I add in or subtract out, and then, change things as they go. So your example was if you had them short something, like this, for example, right? Say you shorted this and say there was a 200-day moving average or kind of a big, a big issue down here. There was a 200-day moving average, there's support or whatever. Then you can exit right away because you only entered a smaller amount. And then what you can do on something like I did on FTCH is it entered the first little bit right here, and then it came along and it entered more. It entered again on this kind of push up here. So I entered that first little position. I put the stop loss in place, and then I pretty quickly moved the stop up into this area when we kind of chop sideways for 45 minutes. And then if I click on the pullback long, you can see the entry was kind of all the way up here. So I had actually added a little bit, and now I'm actually watching this. I have an alert set on another account just right at the high here, and I may enter again. And again, I'm just raising my stop up, and I'm entering a smaller amount each time. So it's not like you buy 100 shares and then the next entry you buy 100 shares, the next entry you buy 100 shares. You might buy 300 shares and then the next entry buy 100 shares and the next entry buy 100 shares, so that you're not, really pushing up your average. You're just kind of trailing it up and behind. But again, that's what I do. I see the merit of just letting the entries handle all on your own, and then just managing the exits. What I will say is that you don't know, it's one thing to say there's, let's say Neo buys right into daily resistance. But the thing is, you don't know anything is resistance until it's moved away from it. Until it's there, it's just an area of potential resistance. So it may be something where you kind of just hang on and say, okay, I'm just going to make this a tight stop. Let me give this a little bit of a chance to break through. And if it doesn't break through, then I'm out. I'm not interested. But again, it's going to be all based off of whatever your particular trading style is. That's great. That's what I've been doing. Just looking for your insight. Awesome. Glad to hear. Another 10 or so minutes left. So again, feel free to come and pop in your questions and let me know. See, FTCH, that alert just triggered. Let me know. There it is. Let me know what you guys think of this format versus the old 101, 201, 301 type formats. I like this a lot better and the guys who do the teaching like it a lot better because they don't have to, teach the same topic over and over and over again. Just come here and chat about the market for a bit and answer any questions that people have kind of come across as time went on. Do I have any other cool things that I'm watching here? Is there any? The market's having a doji, so this thing's probably going wild. No, nothing? Okay, never mind. Oh, maybe it doesn't work. Intra-market hours. I use that scan to look for markets that have been chopping sideways, which have been absolutely dead for the last little bit. Things that have held strong yesterday and are pushing up today. Oh, that's interesting. So this is the one thing I love about Tradidy is you can constantly, what I'm always looking for now is relative strength. I'm looking for, things that are, I take a look at the SPY here and I say, okay, this SPY is absolutely destroyed. It fell out of bed and right off a cliff. So a lot of people will naturally say, okay, let me find stocks that have also fallen off the cliff and get those. And what I like to do is I just kind of build a scan that says I want things in the higher end of their 5-day range because I want to find the things that didn't participate. Right? They were not interested in, playing the game of selling off, because if someone was able to hold those things up, right, if someone's like, okay, yeah, I like this guy, for example, right? There was some buying going on here the entire time. So there's something, right? Some mechanism that's actually holding this thing up while the whole market is falling apart. So what I can do is I can go and I can look through the news. I can see what it is that they're doing. What does this company do that's holding up? It looks like it's therapeutics, so it may do some coronavirus type stuff. But again, it's you should adapt your scanning and what it is that you're looking for market conditions. This things that have held up well scan would not be good for your regular day trading. If the market is just up every day, then looking for things that have held up well is not important. What you might want to do is find stocks that have sold off dramatically and say, okay, well, when the market turns, I'm going to short this. Because one thing that's been studied ad nauseum in the market about a trading style, if someone said, hey, what's the one thing that's been studied the most and just proves to have the most legitimacy in trading, it's simple relative strength, relative weakness. Tons and tons of academic studies done on the fact that now how you define it is entirely up to you. What you're going to use for entries and exit prices, entirely up to you. But it's that's the main thing that's just been tested. If it's stronger than the market, it's quite often going to continue to be stronger than the market for the next 6 months to a year, depending on the study you read. And if it's weaker than the market, it's generally speaking going to be weaker than the market for the next 6 months to a year. So what I do in a lot of situations like this, if the market's ripping, I'm making lists of stocks that are falling apart. If the market's tanking the way it is, I'm going to take a look at stocks like this, where I'm going to just mark this, and we'll create an alert price for that. And you can see it's right here now. And now both of these things are working, and they'll alert me if and when they kind of pop through. Can I share this scanner? I don't know. Hold on, let me check. I just never know if I have custom formulas in it and what those custom formulas are. I do. I bet you I could replace that with position in previous day's range. That's already in there. I wonder how much that varies if I take that out. This is just a custom formula I have that's comparing the low of yesterday to the low of today. So this is still working. So it's basically looking for stocks that were up or held stronger than the market yesterday and are doing okay today. Let me share this, save and share. It looked like it was a little bit less active with my custom, but what I would do is play with the position in 5 days range and the position in previous days range. But just know that when the market is up, this scan that I just shared with you in chat there is going to just be on fire, because it's basically just saying, hey, I want stocks that are in the high end of yesterday's range. They've got a decent average true range, relative volume, all this, but they're basically just stocks in breaking resistance in the high end of yesterday's range. And then if you want it to just be really sure, what you do is you adapt these to the market. So if I say position in 5-day range, and I want that to be high up as well, I've just put a minimum of, say, 60 for that. Now I'm only going to get stocks that are in the high end of not only yesterday's range, but they're in the high end of their 5-day range, right? Things like Box here and Etsy. Right, these are stock that, again, market's falling apart and Etsy is holding up. So then what I would do is I would look at something like Etsy and say, hey, let me take a look. We've got this, this thing is already showing relative strength. Let me just take a trend line and just kind of draw that in there against those tops and say, oh yeah, it's got some tops there. Let me just add in a price alert, because I don't really see anything to do in Etsy when it's down here. But maybe if it kind of rallies up and starts breaking through these tops, I'm interested in getting involved there, where, again, if we go back to the market, we can see the market just, absolutely fell apart the last 2 weeks, whereas Etsy is relatively strong the past 2 weeks. So I hope that makes sense. But I do that a lot, where when we're in crazy bull runs, I'm just making lists of weak stocks, because my theory is that if this market turns around and we get a bounce, maybe Etsy is something that will kind of lead that charge of turning around. So, there's someone in there buying now. Looks like our AI suggested that you bought it yesterday, kind of in this area. And then, if someone comes around and says, yeah, this is a great stock, I think it's going to go higher, and look, it held up super well. I just think it's more where the money flow will kind of enter if the market changes. I think you said an incomplete cloud hyperlink. Save and share to cloud, save and share. You may need to, I don't think you can copy that right from chat. I think what you're going to have to do, Mike, is you're going to have to click on it first and then have it bring up your website. Right, so then it brings up this website here, and then you can copy it kind of right from this area. Because what I think the chat is doing is I think the chat is shortening it. So you have to click on it, and then it will bring you to this website, and then you just grab the link from there and then put it in. That should work. Okay, guys, so that is it for today. I'm going to turn this off, and then Barry's going to be back very shortly. And the chat will be turned off just because, we're getting comfortable with having the live room running. And we just want to make sure that there's no crazy people in chat doing crazy stuff. So chat will be turned back off, but then I will turn it back on for the next support session. And yeah, that's it. So have fun hanging out with Barry.